Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial has wrapped up for the day. Much of the day was spent with the cross-examination by defense of key state witness Sergeant Thabo Mosia about the night of the murder. My colleague, as reporter Silindelo Masikane, following the court proceedings today, she's joining us now live from Pretoria outside court there. That's the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. Silindelo, take us back to what really happened in court today ahead of the adjournment for tomorrow.
Well, I guess one would say it's been a day of applications here in the North Gauteng High Court. We began proceedings with the continuation of Advocate Zandile Msololo's special entry application, which she started yesterday. And we were busy with submissions, in fact, from the state, which was opposing the application, saying that it was frivolous and, premature at this point. But what Judge Maumela was really stressing was the fact that time is really of the essence in this matter, and it seems that we just continue to be dealing with side issues as opposed to be actually dealing with the trial and the facts of this case. And so after a consultation with counsel, Bradan, as well as after a consultation rather with counsel in his chambers, Judge Maumela then came back to inform the court and to say that there's been an agreement between all counsel that the issue about disclosure or the failure of the state to disclose docket 375 before the trial began has actually been noted by the court. It is on record. Therefore, Advocate Msololo agreed to essentially withdraw her special entry application. So then that, of course, allowed for us to be able to continue with cross-examination of Sergeant Thabo Mosia, the forensic officer who collected evidence on the night that Meyiwa was shot and killed. And once more, Msololo made an application to say, look, I want to introduce hearsay evidence. This evidence is in relation to docket 375. In fact, it's an affidavit deposed by General Johan Ndlovu at the time of his death, which is earlier this year. But at the time, at the time of the murder, he was actually Brigadier Ndlovu, and he was the one who had called Sergeant Mosia to the crime scene to be able to gather this evidence. And what Msololo was trying to say to the court in terms of this hearsay evidence was that it was important in her cross-examination, because there are a number of contradictions between Mosia's evidence in chief as well as what Brigadier Ndlovu had said about what transpired on that evening and how he had called Mosia to the crime scene. In his evidence in chief, Mosia insists that Brigadier Ndlovu in fact assisted him with collecting evidence, showed him which exhibits to take photographs of, which fingerprints to take, etc. But in his statement, Brigadier Ndlovu denies all of this and says that at no point did he assist Mosia with the forensic investigation because he was not in charge of the crime scene. And I must add that Judge Maumela actually allowed for Advocate Msololo to admit this hearsay evidence because he says that there's a lot of issues with regards to conspiracy theories about how this trial is unfolding, and in fact the interests of justice compel him to allow Msololo to then put it on record, put this evidence before court, and cross-examine Sergeant Mosia on it. Mosia has, of course, denied the fact that the statement by Ndlovu contradicts what he says. He says that there must be a mistake because in his crime scene report, in fact, the person number of Ndlovu appears, which then supports his statement, he believes. And so that is where we ended off. And of course, we are expecting to resume tomorrow morning, Bradan, with Sergeant Mosia still on the stand, still being cross-examined by Advocate Zandile Msololo.
Thank you very much, Silindelo Masikane, with that comprehensive wrap of what took place today in court in the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial in Pretoria. They'll be back there tomorrow morning as the cross-examination of Sergeant Mosia will continue.